Hello and welcome to Firstpost America. We're live in Washington, D.C., and over the next few minutes, we'll take you from the United States and around the world, covering all the top stories of the day. But before that, let's take a look at the latest headlines. Some residents in Los Angeles, California have been allowed to return home as firefighters bring more than 40,000 acres of ongoing wildfires under control. However, dangerous fire conditions are expected to return next week. Russia says any placement of British military assets in Ukraine would be a matter of concern, a day after Kyiv and London signed a new 100-year agreement to boost their trade and security partnership. French President Emmanuel Macron arrives in Lebanon to meet his newly elected counterpart and offer support to his government, which faces the task of ending years of economic turmoil fueled by multiple conflicts. A Pakistani court sentences former Prime Minister Imran Khan to 14 years in prison in a landmark graft case. Khan has been in jail since August of 2023 and faces charges in around 200 cases. And Apple suspends its new artificial intelligence feature that made repeated mistakes in the summaries of news headlines after mounting pressure from prominent media outlets. We start right here in Washington, D.C., where Donald Trump is set to be inaugurated as president for the second time on Monday. The inauguration festivities will feature a swearing-in ceremony, a celebratory parade, musical performances, and official meetings. And breaking with tradition, leaders across the globe have been invited to attend the momentous occasion as personal guests of the president-elect. Topping the guest list are Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and Argentina's President Javier Milei, who will attend the ceremony if their schedule permits.
Básicamente lo que tengo para contarles es que
Basically, I have to tell you that we will indeed move forward with a free trade agreement with the United States. Just yesterday and today, it was reaffirmed by the spokesperson of the President-elect of the United States, Donald Trump, that we will work to achieve a free trade agreement with the United States.
que vamos a trabajar para conseguir el Tratado de Libre Comercio.
Trump also invited China's President Xi Jinping last month, even though no Chinese head of state has ever attended a U.S. president's inauguration. But in a big surprise, China is sending its vice president to Washington, signaling a new strategy of outreach to the incoming commander-in-chief. Meanwhile, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, a massive Trump supporter and admirer of Russian leader Vladimir Putin, is one of the invited dignitaries who will not be in attendance.
I also hear a lot of speculation about what will happen after the inauguration of the new president. It will happen on January 20th. I'm a more cautious man. So what I see now is that there is a month left until the new president takes office. And I suggest that we pray that the new American president does not get hurt during this month, the time until he can occupy his office. And then we'll see everything else after that.
Now, ironically, former president of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, also received an invitation, yet he too will not be in Washington for the swearing-in. He's facing criminal charges for allegedly plotting a coup after his 2022 election defeat, and as a result has had his passport confiscated. Now, while President Joe Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, and all living former presidents will attend the ceremony, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has announced she will not be in attendance. In a controversial turn of events, TikTok CEO Xu Chu is also expected to join the event and sit alongside other tech billionaires, including Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and Jeff Bezos.
We thought that the argument went very well. The justices are extremely engaged. They fully understand the importance of this case, not only for the American citizens of this country, but for First Amendment law generally and the rights of everybody. We thought that they vigorously questioned both sides. They put us through our paces, but what really came through is that they understand the importance of this case. We're very hopeful of a favorable decision.
Now, reports say that Google CEO Sundar Pichai will also attend the incoming president swearing-in ceremony as well. And as preparations continue, it's certain Donald Trump's $170 million inauguration is going to be a spectacle with many in attendance. Now, 8 years ago, Donald Trump shattered political norms, ascending to the presidency with a vow to end American carnage and put America first. Now, in a fiery comeback, he prepares to take the oath once more as the 47th president. His sharp rhetoric, divisive policies, and dramatic clashes with rivals like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama defined his first term. Now, as January 2025 approaches, we revisit a turning point in America's political history. Here's more on Donald Trump's political journey.
It was 8 years ago when Donald J. Trump first stood under gray skies. The billionaire outsider turned populist firebrand became the 45th President of the United States, vowing to end the American carnage and put America first.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Now, in 2025, Trump returns to the White House, defying all odds as the 47th president, ready to claim the Oval Office once again. This is no ordinary comeback. It was a storm barreling back through Washington, reviving memories of the day he first shook the foundations of American politics. It began with two Bibles. One belonged to Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of unity during division. The other, a childhood gift from Trump's mother, was a reminder of his roots and defiance. At noon, with his hands on both, Trump pledged to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And with that, the reign of Trump began.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
That I will faithfully execute.
that I will faithfully execute
The office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United States,
And will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
But nothing about this day was ordinary. As Trump stepped to the podium, rain splattered his shoulders. Reverend Franklin Graham proclaimed it a divine blessing, but others saw it as foreboding.
Is a sign of God's blessing.
Then came the speech, a 16-minute verbal sledgehammer dismantling decades of political norms and Washington's traditions. As Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton looked on, Trump declared,
This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. We are one nation, and their pain is our pain. Their dreams are our dreams, and their success will be our success. We share one heart, one home, and one glorious destiny. The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
With a voice sharpened by campaign battles, Trump promised a revolution. Every word was a rallying cry, rejecting the globalism and compromises of his predecessors.
From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
At the stroke of noon, the official POTUS Twitter account was transitioned from Obama's legacy to Trump's brash persona. For a fleeting moment, it stood eerily silent. POTUS hasn't tweeted yet. The world waited, and then Trump took over, redefining presidential communication in 280 characters or less. As the ceremony commenced, Hillary Clinton, his defeated rival, watched from the audience. Dressed in white, a nod to the suffragist movement, she embodied quiet resilience. But her presence underscored the drama. This was the moment she had warned of, the nightmare she painted for her supporters. Yet even amidst the tension, Trump surprised everyone at the Capitol luncheon. Standing before a room of lawmakers, he gestured to the Clintons.
Kiddingly, he thinks we're doing great at the cabinet level, but we're going to do just fine. We're going to do just fine. But you know, I'll tell you, there is something that I wanted to say, because I was very honored, very, very honored, when I heard that President Bill Clinton and Secretary Hillary Clinton was coming today, and I think it's appropriate to say, and I'd like you to stand up. I'd like you to stand up.
Either it was an unexpected olive branch, or perhaps just another twist in the Trumpian playbook. Barack and Michelle Obama were hanging out at the White House steps to welcome the new president and the First Lady. When Melania reached out for a handshake, Michelle leaned in and said, "I'm a hugger," which made Barack handle the situation and joke about the protocol for these kinds of situations. But the look on the former First Lady's face was strikingly different, a gleam of sadness that pulled at the heartstrings. What was running through her mind as she stood there? After all, it was Michelle Obama who had powerfully challenged Trump on the campaign trail for Clinton, and Trump's inaugural address was a dramatic rejection of everything her husband had fought for during his presidency. So, as the air filled with the notes, Barack and Michelle Obama stood together, embracing their last public moment on the final day of Obama's presidency. Emotions on one end and a battlefield on another. Downtown, protesters clashed with the police, windows shattered, and fires raged. The anger was palpable. And now, 7 years later, the stage is set again. Trump, now 78, is not just reclaiming the presidency, he's rewriting the rules again. Will Trump's second term be the redemption he promises or the reckoning his critics predict? As the clock ticks towards January 20th, 2025, one thing is certain: the storm is far from over.
And staying in the United States, incoming President Donald Trump's incoming border czar, Tom Homan, is being mocked and trolled on social media platforms, including Facebook and X. This comes after Homan sat down for an interview with NBC News on Tuesday, where he spoke about his plans to carry out Donald Trump's mass deportations. Speaking to NBC News, Homan said that he would like to begin mass deportations starting Monday of next week, which will be his first day in office. Homan added that he has many fresh ideas up his sleeve, including setting up a hotline where Americans can report the whereabouts of illegal migrants. However, Democrats, social media users, and media houses were quick to fact-check Homan on the issue of a hotline. In fact, ICE itself put out a statement clarifying that such a hotline has been operational now for 20 years and receives an average of 15,000 calls per month. Several Americans are now questioning whether Homan actually wants to introduce a separate hotline or if he's completely unaware of the current systems in place. Many are even asking if Homan intends to have an oversight over these hotlines where people could falsely report about a person's migration status. Now, Donald Trump's transition team is yet to clarify Homan's comments and has refused to mention whether a new and separate hotline would in fact be created. Meanwhile, several economists, lawyers, and professors who specialize in migration issues are urging the president-elect to rethink his mass deportations.
The staffing and the size of ICE and CBP are not enough to single-handedly deport 10 to 12 million individuals from their homes and communities overnight. However, states and local governments, again, some but not all, have expressed a desire and enthusiasm even to cooperate. And so I think we could be looking at local law enforcement and state police forces participating in arrest and apprehension efforts. I also expect that there will be many legal challenges. I expect that the new administration will seek to push the boundaries beyond what may even be legal or be constitutional, and that the courts will have, as well as lawyers, will have an important role to play in the future ahead of us.
Now, as a result of Donald Trump's new deportation policies, many illegal migrants in the United States are now finding ways to leave the country on their own, in a trend that is being termed self-deportation.
The reason why I don't consider staying in this country is because there is too much uncertainty with the new government of Donald Trump. Many immigrants or Latino Americans are going to be deported, right? Just like Trump has done in the past. It's also something that he has promoted quite a lot in his campaigns, and that's one of the reasons why I would not choose to stay.
Now, following Tom Homan's ill-informed plans of setting up a hotline, MAGA has come out in support of the border czar and is calling for deportations to begin on day one. With Donald Trump's mass deportations expected to cost upwards of $100 billion, it looks like Tom Homan would need a lot more at his disposal than just a hotline if he in fact intends to implement Donald Trump's plans. And now moving to the Middle East, Israel's political security cabinet met on Friday to discuss the ceasefire-hostage deal signed with Hamas. The meeting took place ahead of a wider cabinet vote to approve the truce agreement, which is expected on Saturday. The deal, which is likely to take effect on Sunday, would see a pause in fighting in Gaza and the release of hostages held by Hamas. Now, as soon after the three-phased agreement was achieved on Wednesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu blamed Hamas for delaying the ceasefire by seeking last-minute changes. However, on Friday, the Prime Minister said Israel and Hamas have now worked out their differences. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the ceasefire in Gaza would be implemented as planned despite any challenges. But during a press conference, Blinken was heckled by several journalists who were outspoken about American support for Israel. This led to an independent journalist being forcibly removed from the room after he called the top diplomat a criminal.
Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Answer a damn question.
I look forward to answering questions in a few minutes.
You know about Israel's nuclear weapons. Everybody from the ICJ. I was sitting here quietly, and now I'm being manhandled by 2 or 3 people. You pontificate about a free press. You pontificate about a free press. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. I'm asking questions after being told by Matt Miller that he will not answer my questions until I'm asking.
Please, sir, respect the process. We'll have an opportunity to take questions in a few minutes.
Wasn't the point of the May 31st statement to block the ICJ orders? You blocked the ICJ orders.
Please, sir, respect the process. Thank you.
Oh, respect the process. Respect this process while everybody from Amnesty International. From Amnesty International to the ICJ saying that Israel's doing genocide and extermination, and you're telling me to respect the process. Criminal, why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague? Why aren't you in The Hague?
Now, according to the ceasefire, Hamas is due to free 33 hostages in the first phase, and a list of the captives has now been released. The names of these hostages, including 2 Americans, are not in order of release and do not indicate whether they are dead or alive. However, friends and families of these hostages hope the agreement will be implemented fruitfully with the help of incoming President Donald Trump.
We are fully confident that these are only disturbances and spins because, the base needs some attention. But we are fully confident that President Trump is the new sheriff in town and he's taking care of things. And we really hope and pray that his efforts will be fruitful and we can get all our hostages back as soon as possible. This has been a tremendously amount of pressure on the families, and we just hope this period will be over. We don't see any point in the schedule, this lengthy schedule of the deal. We think that everyone could be back home in 2 weeks, and we want them back as soon as possible, of course.
Meanwhile, Israel's hardline right-wing politicians have denounced the ceasefire deal, and hundreds of their supporters are protesting against Netanyahu.
And never submit to terror, and never give any part of the living body of Eretz Israel to anybody. Not to leave, as Ramban said, not to leave Eretz Israel to enemies, and not to leave it desolate. We will settle Gaza. We will settle Lebanon. We will settle the entire promised land. Thank you very much.
Still ahead of the ceasefire implementation, Israel has continued bombings in Gaza. Since the day of the truce announcement, Israeli strikes have killed more than 100 people and injured nearly 300. The Israeli forces have defended the strikes, saying they are eliminating dozens of terror targets across Gaza. And finally, we head to Mexico, where the Pacific Ocean has become a battleground of cocaine, crime, and cartels. Mexico's Navy has been involved in high-speed chases, daring raids, and massive drug hauls. Yet the cartels remain relentless, with their reach stretching across borders and oceans. But as Donald Trump prepares to retake the White House, tensions between Mexico and the United States are boiling over. What lies ahead in this escalating conflict? Our final report tells you more.
The Pacific Ocean witnessed a dramatic pursuit on the 15th of January when the Mexican Navy seized 2.19 tons of cocaine near Cabo San Lucas. 3 boats packed with drugs were intercepted using helicopters, airplanes, and patrol vessels. The high-speed chase then resulted in the detention of 9 crew members, all Mexicans, and the contraband was handed over to the prosecutors. But for the Mexican Navy, that wasn't all for the day. In a separate incident, the officials located and even dismantled a clandestine drug laboratory in Sinaloa state, preventing the production of synthetic drugs. The operation, conducted in coordination with the Federal Attorney General's office, uncovered a lab near the state's capital, spanning approximately 1,500 square meters. Authorities said they seized 15 kilograms of finished product and large quantities of chemical precursors and equipment. The lab and materials were neutralized on site to prevent further drug manufacturing. Now, this is just the latest chapter in a relentless saga. Last year in November, the Mexican Navy intercepted a semi-submersible go-fast boat 246 kilometers off Acapulco. On board were 102 tightly packed bricks of cocaine weighing 3.6 tons or 3,265 kilograms. 9 crew members were detained, out of which 6 were foreigners, hinting at the international reach of Mexico's drug cartels. But August last year marked a turning point. In a high-stakes chase captured on dramatic video, Mexican naval forces stopped 3 speedboats near Manzanillo. The raid netted 5.6 tons or 5,600 kilograms of cocaine, the largest single seizure in the current administration. A further 1.6 tons were retrieved from floating packages in a second operation near Lázaro Cárdenas, bringing the day's total haul to over 7 tons or 7,000 kilograms. Arrests followed, with 15 suspects apprehended and over 1,000 liters of fuel confiscated. Even though the operations are daring, the stakes are higher than ever. The routes used by cartels span thousands of miles, from South American production hubs to the United States, their largest market. And, despite these dramatic victories, the flow of cocaine remains unbroken. But as Donald Trump prepares to retake the White House in the coming 3 days, a storm brews on the horizon. His administration is sharpening its focus on the cartels. Marco Rubio, Trump's pick for Secretary of State, took no time to think it over when he declared the cartels as terrorists.
They basically have operational control over huge swaths of the border regions between Mexico and the United States. It is important for us to not just go after these groups, but identify them and call them what they are. The cartels are terrorizing America with mass migration and a flow of drugs.
Mexico, meanwhile, faces a delicate balancing act. While its pharmaceutical exports to the United States reached over $1 billion in 2023, its waters are flooded with illicit cargo. Even then, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum welcomed diplomacy with the incoming Trump administration and hoped that the US and Mexico could work jointly and cooperatively to crack down on Mexican cartels.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's nominee, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, also in his statement mentioned the possible declaration of groups associated with terrorism, of these criminal groups, of the cartels. He says it has its complications because of the way they operate. So we also obviously agree with this, that declaring a group a terrorist group has many implications.
So what happens next? As the Trump administration readies for a hardline approach, will these crackdowns escalate, or will the cartels fight back to protect their drug kingdom?
That's our show for today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you right back here again next week. Thanks again for watching. Donald Trump's return to the Oval Office is imminent. He will soon take the oath of office and once again lead the nation.
God spared my life for a reason.
President-elect Donald Trump's first priority: tackling illegal immigration and securing the nation's borders.
We're going to fix our borders.
The incoming administration has prioritized the Russia-Ukraine war. Can they succeed in ending one of the world's most challenging conflicts?
I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled.
And as he returns to the White House, will Donald Trump resume a bruising trade war with the world's second largest economy, China?
If China or some other country is behaving badly, we have things called tariffs.
All of this and more right here on Firstpost America.